Welcome to Marketer's Alchemy, where we pull back the curtain on the intricate world of data-driven marketing. On this show, we delve into the convergence of marketing as an art form and data as a scientific foundation, unveiling the secrets to turning raw data into marketing gold. I'm your host, Catherine Turnoff, Senior Product Manager at Deluxe. Join us as we dive into real-life case studies and give you a front row seat to industry pioneers and visionaries. Welcome to Marketer's Alchemy, turning data into gold. I'm Catherine Turnoff, and I'm here with Rachel Sterling, Chief Marketing Officer at Identity Digital. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So to start, you have worked for some of the most recognizable brands in the world. Can you tell us a little bit about your career journey up to this point?
So I've listened to a bunch of your podcasts. I love them. And I think that one of the things that ends up being true for lots of the folks that you chat with is that our career paths aren't linear. And we've all taken journeys that have gotten us to the seat today. My journey began in New York City, where I started as a creative. I worked in TV production at Comedy Central and then live TV at Bloomberg. And then, as most people do, they leave New York and land in Detroit. Actually, nobody does that. It's just me. And in Detroit, I got to be a video editor where I was able to make car commercials for brands like Chevrolet and Dodge. Then I took another turn. In 2006, Google had opened its first office in Michigan in Ann Arbor. And I sent in my application, and I didn't know what a PowerPoint presentation was. I didn't know what AdWords was. I mean, this was a long time ago. And I ended up working there for 11 years, and it was an honor of a lifetime. I got to work on AdWords, small business products, YouTube, and then I ended my career at Nest at Google. And I realized I really wanted to drill down and learn one thing really well. And so I landed on product marketing, and I was offered the job to lead product marketing at Twitter. And I did that for 3 years, one of those years being 2020, which was an election year, which was not for the faint of heart. And then I got to do the exact same role at Instagram. And so I feel confident in saying I'm probably the only person on the planet that's led product marketing for both Twitter and Instagram. That probably requires a lot of dissection, maybe some therapy on what went into those two roles. And then from there, I did a brief sojourn in the startup world and then landed at Identity Digital, where I'm fairly certain most of your audience has never heard of us. And so I'm excited to talk more about what we do here and the role that I get to play here.
Before we dive into a little more on identity, I want to know, how has your background in TV and production helped you in marketing? We get a lot of diverse backgrounds, but TV and production is a first for us.
Yeah, I'm not normal. I think my family would probably agree with on that. Maybe my friends too. As I mentioned, being a marketing generalist means that you touch the full stack. And I have found that when you actually understand how the work gets done, you tend to be a more empathetic leader because you provide just more realistic goals and expectations and feedback. I'd like to give you an example of where I learned this.
Definitely.
So when I was working in Detroit, making car commercials. And I'm going to hopefully educate the audience on this. Maybe you've never heard this term. Have you ever heard the term running footage?
No, I have not.
Okay, so car commercials are all built the same way. You have like the opening section where it's like the franchise owners talking about the value of their franchise. Then you cut away to the car driving through the countryside, the mountainside, the hillside, sides everywhere, the beach side. That footage was created by the original engine manufacturer, the Chevys and the Dodge or the Fords of the world. And then they ship that footage out to all the franchise owners, and then they do cut-ups versions. And that's called running footage. And so it's all shot at one time, very expensive. You go all around the world. And where I learned this valuable lesson was we were editing Chevy footage, and they had a rig attached to the car. And the sun was behind the rig. And so when you're taking a picture, if the sun is behind you, it casts a shadow. And so the shadow was cast on the side of the car. And rather than waiting a couple of hours till the sun moved position or moving the rig to the other side of the car, somebody said, we'll fix it in post. And there is no scarier phrase for a video editor than we'll fix it in post. And in 2004, that meant that I had to go into that running footage and for every frame, remove the shadow from the side of the car.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
there are 24 frames per second, 2 fields per frame. And so this was before AI, and I was manually doing this. This was time consuming and expensive. And that empathy that I have means that I am not inadvertently getting my current company in trouble by asking for something that's going to bankrupt us later on, because I understand what it takes to make the thing I'm asking for.
Interesting, and obviously not just applicable to marketing, but everywhere, right? I think we all wish that other people had more empathy for the jobs we do or other jobs at our company. So our tagline on the show is marketing is an art and data is a science. How has this proved true for you and your work?
Okay, so dangerous. I come from the creative side. And so my initial thought is marketing is about creativity and human intuition, and I'm here to make beautiful commercials. And that's wrong. Because what I want might not be what the customer wants. And marketing requires data because we're not entertainers. We're here in these roles to grow a business. We're here to change some sort of consumer behavior or perception. And so it's crucial that, like, if you have an idea, you have to validate that idea with data to ensure you're not just talking to yourself, you are talking to others. I'm big on examples because
I love it. We love it here.
Okay, so I got to work at Nest, which was one of my all-time favorite jobs. That product was amazing. And in my role, I led all of our B2B integrated marketing. And so when you think about B2B for Nest, you might not know, well, what businesses were you talking to? Because this is a consumer home product. It's a thermostat for your home.
Yeah.
And it was a channel play, which is very similar to what I do here. We were going to market through HVAC, air conditioner, heating and cooling professionals. And what we would do is we would run print ads in those trade publications, espousing the benefits of installing Nest smart home products in the home. And I worked with a really astute marketing analyst, and he's like, Rachel, why are you running print ads? You can't optimize print ads. And I'm like, maybe that's why I'm running them. And then he was like, no, be serious. And I was like, well, okay, let's look at the gut instinct behind this. When I talk to these HVAC guys, and they are all guys, they would hang our ads up in their stores. They would put our ads up on their websites because they were deeply proud of the fact that we were supporting their business. They felt seen. That was the human intuition part. But on the data side, what I observed was that when I ran print ads, I noticed that my cost per impressions went down. My digital campaigns became more effective. And when I stopped the print ads, my cost per impression went up. And so that data validated the assumption that the insight was true, that they just really loved the fact that we were working directly with them, and that had a trickle down effect for all of their involvement with our brand.
Makes sense. And it wouldn't have been something that you would have realized if you were just going, again, with those numbers. But, you may not have really realized that without collecting that data from the actual HVAC companies. That's amazing.
Correct. Also, just love a print ad. Who doesn't love a print ad?
We recently got a magazine, which I haven't gotten forever. It was misdelivered. And I really did. I really enjoyed leafing through it. So it's not dead yet.
It's not dead yet.
So let's head into our first segment, Alchemy Unveiled, Mixing Marketing Potions. Before we dive into specifics, can you help us understand what Identity Digital is and what you're currently working on?
So making an assumption that nobody who's listening knows the company where I work. And I'm going to also make another assumption that if we stopped 5 people on the street, 5 people would have no idea what a domain registry does. And so let's start at the beginning, and let's do this through the lens of, let's say you wanted to buy a web address and you were in the market, you're building a website, doing some sort of personal site, you need to go buy a web address. And so you would go to a registrar to go buy a web address. And a registrar is a company that sells domains to end customers. Here at Identity Digital, we operate non-dotcom, which is a registrar. But other registrars that you might be familiar with are GoDaddy or Two Cows or Namecheap or Squarespace. And these are any places where you as an end customer can go in and buy a domain. Now, I work at Identity Digital, which is a parent company, which is a registry. A registry, what Identity Digital does is they manage the back-end services to ensure that that domain actually works. Okay. So we've been entering domains and web addresses into a URL browser, a web browser, for 40 years. They work. The reason that they work is because registries do their job. And so a web address is the thing that you search for, your domain. And then what we manage here is we manage the largest portfolio of top level domains. And the abbreviation for that is a TLD. So let's unpack this. When we read English, we read left to right. But when your web browser reads a domain that you enter into a browser, it reads right to left. It's like Hebrew or Arabic. And so the top level domain is to the right side of the dot. And a top level domain could be like a .com, a .net, a .org, any of the ones that you've seen for 40 years. But then there's also all of these new ones that are super descriptive that people are flocking to. And those are the ones that we manage. And we manage more than 270 of them. And anytime somebody creates a domain, where we're not going to like be too fancy about it, we call it a create. Somebody bought a domain, that's a create. But not all domains are the same cost. Some domains are more valuable than others. And so the revenue that we earn from those domains sold are referred to as bookings. Just to give you an understanding, like as we talk about the business here, those are the words I might throw around. Registrar, registry, create, TLD, booking. And once you got that, you got the whole business down.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I was one of those 5 who would have before this needed a little help, so I appreciate it. So what are you currently working on?
We are working on identifying which TLDs we want to merchandise. And so we have lots of different avenues in which we market our business. On the one hand, we do market name.com. Name.com is doing B2C work where they are trying to reach customers and convincing them that name.com is the best place for them to buy their domain, get their web addresses, get their emails, get their website builders, all of the services that you need to get your business online. The other thing that we do is we look at our portfolio of TLDs and we say, well, which ones do we want to bring to market? And right now we have 3 different campaigns that are active. We have a .pro campaign that is active where we are targeting professional trade people with the idea that if you want to build credibility, you would launch a .pro domain, a .pro web address. We are running a campaign supporting .world, and this feels very new and exciting. Metaverse e-commerce is growing. People are looking to sell digital goods that don't exist in real life, but exist in this metaverse environment. And so one of the ways that they're doing that is they're investing in .world domains because they are creating their own worlds and building e-commerce to support.
Wow.
And then oh my God, it's so fascinating. So new. Don't get me started on Fortnite skins and the conversations I have with my kids. And then the third campaign that we have active right now is for .vote. And so really targeting issue advocacy firms. Yes, it's an election year. Yeah. Targeting issue advocacy and campaigns to make them, be aware that the action we want people to take this year, regardless of what side of the aisle that they're on, is we want people to vote. And so it's sort of like putting your money where your mouth is as a domain purchaser to just use a .vote.
Got it. What could some of the advantages be for using a non-.com domain?
Number one, they're available.
That's always a good place to start.
I cannot express that enough. Like .com's been around for 40 years. And so the chances that your name in the name that you explicitly want is available, slim to none at this point. And so if you don't want to sacrifice your brand, it's really important for you to explore other non-traditional descriptive domains. They stand out. They are unique. When somebody is searching, you're able to see that they look different than the other domains that are in the search query. They are personalized. As I said, you can get exactly what you're looking for. And they are new. And so if I may give an anecdote, I live in Silicon Valley, which is not like the rest of the world. It's a little interesting here. And when I go to my kids' sports, the sideline conversations are very different. And one time I was at a baseball tryout, and I was chit-chatting with a dad, and he works at Y Combinator. And Y Combinator is the #1 incubator for tech startups here in the Bay. And he was talking to me about what I do. And he goes, it's fascinating that you mentioned that, because the advice that we've been giving the new classes of folks that come through Y Combinator is to not pick a .com because it makes you look old-fashioned. And they've been pointing them in the direction of .ios and .ais because that top level domain provides them with the clout that like they're on the cutting edge. And so I think it's really important to look at other folks who have adopted top level domains that are descriptive as a tool to grow their business. We have a customer that did a case study with us called Pakina, and they bought the edit.photo domain and they bought the edit.video domain to merchandise their free online editing tools. And what they found was because both words were so descriptive, they landed on the first page of Google search. They average around 100,000 visitors per month because of how descriptive their domain is. And that's all organic. They're not paying for that.
So it's not just the fact that it's available, right? And they can get exactly what they want, but it also gives them an edge in things like Google search. Yeah.
Clarity
Makes sense.
and discovery. And it's just super helpful. And you would say it's just the right side of the dot, but it carries like this outsized influence when people are looking for you, and they might not know what you do, but when that right side is descriptive, it's very clear what you're getting.
What your industry is. That makes sense. So who is an ideal customer for Identity Digital?
I struggle with this sometimes because technically it's anybody who needs a domain.
Right.
But
right.
I think you know, and I know, and every marketer listening knows that when you try to reach everyone, you actually reach no one, right? I don't have $100 million to spend to merchandise domains, contrary to popular belief and contrary to what I ask for every year, in which my boss laughs at me, right? And so it could be a business owner, which is a more traditional person who might buy a domain, but we're seeing like this expansion of use cases for people who would buy web addresses, like content creators, job seekers, new college graduates who are looking to merchandise themselves. And so what a domain does is it allows you to buy a little slice of internet real estate that only you own, and you are able to use that to merchandise exactly who you want to be. And so that's fantastic. And I want to say it's not just for entrepreneurs or small business owners. We're also seeing Fortune 50 companies use our domains. And so just to give you a couple of examples, Amazon uses AWS Training as a site for all their training courses for Amazon Web Services.
I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah. And then Nike uses Nike.gallery to host all of their interactive elements. And then Apple uses Apple.news to, spoiler alert, market Apple News, right? And so it's just very, very clear what people are using these sites for when they activate that right side of the domain. Can I do a little nerdy marketing speak now?
Yes, I would love a little nerdy marketing speak.
Nerdy marketing speak. We love a persona. What marketer doesn't love a persona? And so what we've learned, because these are new and people automatically just like they unfortunately have these preconceived notions that if it's not a .com, it's not real. We need to target leading adopters. Like we're going to have to go after the people who really want to be on the forefront of technology. And so our two personas that we use, we call them Maverick Maya and Genius Jackson. love an alliterative persona. And so Maverick Maya is sort of that like late 30s, early 40s creative entrepreneur that wants to be seen on the cutting edge. And we target her with our media. And then Genius Jackson is that tech bro who wants to go on Twitter and tell people that he knows what's up. And he doesn't want to be caught unaware that like somebody else came up with a new technology before he did.
So if we think we're taking those two personas, what types of data are you looking at that help you kind of decide your marketing for them?
That's a great question. So I bundle data into two distinct buckets. There's your marketing key performance indicators, and then you have your business key performance indicators. And I have found in the past that when marketers only, like when they over rotate on marketing KPIs, they're sort of losing the forest for the trees. They'll be like, but look at our CPMs. I'm like, cool. But like, what was the impact of that CPM?
Right.
And so on the marketing side, we're really trying to optimize for cost per landing page view. If we can get that cost per landing page view down below $2, we know that our insights were right, our brief was right, our targeting was right, our media strategy was right, our creative was right. And that means that the marketing landed. Now, on the business side, we have to ensure that, okay, cool, the marketing landed, but then did that actually generate an impact for the organization? And that's when this gets a little bit harder. And so we're looking at the total number of creates, how many domains were actually created during the lifetime of the campaign. And then this is really important, the incremental creates. If we had done nothing at all, what would growth have looked like? And then what is the delta between what we achieved versus if we had done nothing? And then the lifetime value associated with those creates. And so when you're in the market for a domain, there is the benefit of introductory pricing. So a domain might cost $2.99, $3.99, $1.99. They're not expensive. But then what happens is that when you go to renew it, that's when the price goes up. And so the lifetime value is determined by the consolidated value of the domain if you renew it year over year over year. And the way we determine that is it a quality create? Meaning, did somebody just buy 100 different domains with lots of different numbers in them for the purpose of spam? If so, they'll never renew, not a quality create. We have to remove that from our value, from the impact of the campaign. But if they attached a website and they're using it for a specific purpose, that's a quality create, and that's going to drive lifetime value for the organization.
Got it. So the cycle seems really long, right? You're going to have to wait a few years to see the adoption, or if it's a quality
so
create or not.
It's so long. We're not selling milk. We're not selling soap. And
Right.
it requires a ton of assumptions and a ton of modeling. And this job has been the biggest math job I've had, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so really leaning in and working closely with our finance team and our business intelligence team to model out anticipated behavior to extract real-time value for the campaign so that we can make a call at the end of the campaign. Well, was that worth the spend, right?
Yeah.
But we're not realizing that spend for several years. So it's based on models and assumptions.
So let's talk efficiency, right? What does that look like for you and your work?
So how many times have you been working with somebody who maybe is not a trained marketer where they'll say to you, I just need an email, I just need an ad, I just need a video. And you're like, cool, cool, cool. What's the point of that? Like, why am I building that? What does success look like? And so I'm a big advocate of slowing down to go faster. And what that means is whenever we start a campaign, I don't immediately go to deliverables. We start at the brief. What is the insight? What does success look like? What is our baseline performance if we do nothing? What is the anticipated growth if we do something? What is the budget that we would have to spend in order to generate that incremental create growth? And we all really pause and ask those questions and establish our KPIs before we ever start work or spend a dollar. Because the side effect of spending the dollar first is that you might be optimizing for a goal that's not strategic for your organization. And then you're going to waste money. So I want to bring this to life with a story. Again, more stories, story time. Gather around, story time. So what do you think is the most popular New Year's resolution?
Oh, I would say go to the gym.
Correct.
Get healthy. Yeah.
Get healthy. Go to the gym.
Yeah.
It's why the gym is terrifying in January.
Right.
The second most popular New Year's resolution is start a business. This is the year. I am going to do my thing. I'm going to start this thing that I meant to start in November, but like I got distracted by the holidays or whatever. And so we find that domain sales increase in January and February because everybody, the first thing that you do is you go and you buy the name of the thing that you want to do. And so what we did is we took that insight and we decided to run what we called a Seize.Today campaign in January and February. So we managed .today and we thought it was a fun play on words. Instead of seize the day, we did Seize.Today. And we launched this really fun, cute campaign. And we found that we saw a 10% year over year growth in creates. It's great for a 2-month campaign for a fraction of the budget that we would have spent at another point of the year because we saw an 84% decrease in cost per landing page view because we were meeting people where they were in that moment when they were searching for something.
Got it. So when it's right, it really works and the numbers show that.
Exactly. And so that was really fun. And like, we're going to do that again in January and February of next year. Tap into seasonality to just get more marketing efficiency.
Let's move on to our next segment, From Nuggets to Campaign Gold. Here we like to talk about specific campaigns. I know you have a .bio campaign. Could you share with us about that?
Sure. So first, let me give you a brief history. And when I say brief, I mean very brief history of .bio. .bio was originally created to service like health and organic products. Like it's short for biology. Now, the addressable opportunity for goods like that is fairly small. It's what we would call a niche or vertical TLD. You know, as I mentioned before, I like to start all work with insights. And what we learned was my background. I had to spend a lot of time in social, and I am a social media junkie. And I noticed, as everybody does, that people start saying, check out my link in bio for more information. And the reason that that started is because platforms like Instagram have a vested interest in keeping you on the platform as long as possible. So they dissuade people from putting links on their reels or their feed posts. And so the biggest place or the biggest surface area where you can put links is on your profile, which is your bio. And so anytime somebody wants to drive traffic to their storefront or their website or whatnot to merchandise the thing that they're selling, they would say, check out my link in bio. And we were like, oh, what if we repositioned .bio to be for anybody that is marketing through social media who is leveraging a link in bio solution? And so we repositioned .bio in the marketplace. We ran campaigns featuring influencers. We did an influencer event in Hollywood. We brought in like local creators to talk about the value of merchandising their brand through these storefronts. And we did a partnership with Beacons, which is one of those link in bio solutions that allows you to create a web page to merchandise your content. And within the first year, we saw a 500% increase in year-over-year adoption for .bio.
How did the messaging change, right, from when it was .bio biologicals to .bio your biography?
So we didn't merchandise it when it was for.
It was just there. That was the intent later. Got it.
Yeah. And so that was just the use case for it. And this becomes the really challenging math problem that I work with every day in this organization, which is with more than 270 TLDs in our portfolio. I can't market all of them. So I have to be really thoughtful about which ones we pick. And I want to pick the ones that have the biggest addressable opportunity to drive a significant revenue impact for the organization. And right. I wouldn't spend the money to market a .bio if it was for organic health food.
Yeah.
But I would certainly spend the money to market it if I'm reaching out to every single person who publishes content on Instagram and TikTok.
Is there data that helped you understand that? Or is this more of a gut feeling?
Well, it started out as a gut feeling, and then we have a really great research firm, and they went out and they did focus groups, and we found that the insight was validated. That's how people were perceiving the value of bio.
Got it. And so looking back at the campaign and other campaigns, what are your most important KPIs that you look at to determine its success?
So the first thing we have to do is look at the potential impact of the TLD. And so the three different buckets that we look at, or at least I know I look at, does it have a potential to be a generic? And a generic is, you don't have to be a specific vertical or niche. Anybody could use it. So bio, we've repositioned as a generic. Pro, world, the ones that I mentioned previously. These are all positioned as generics where it doesn't matter what business you're in, you might still want to use it, which means the widest possible audience would be capable of using it. The next bucket would be whether it's vertical or niche. And so we own no shortage of vertical and niche TLDs. Like, for example, we own .florist, we own .church, we own .pet. And so do we want to market those? Or even like .vote, which I mentioned previously, is a vertical TLD. Like, you're not going to buy a .vote for your personal website unless you're going out and doing something that is in service of voting initiatives. And then the third bucket are the fun ones. And we have a bunch of fun ones. So we have .rocks, which maybe was for geology in the beginning, but like that's not what it's for now. We have .wtf and we have .ninja. And so are there opportunities, like when people are talking about things that are fun, for us to have a little bit of fun? And so the first thing that I look at is the potential impact of the TLD. The second thing I look at is whether I'm capable of changing the perception. And we measure consideration as a tool because oftentimes when we are reaching people with our marketing, they are not in the market to actually buy a TLD or a domain in that moment. But if we plant the seed, that means that when they're in that moment in the future, they might consider ours. And so for Women's History Month, we actually ran another seasonal campaign supporting .life, targeting lifestyle bloggers. It's very aspirational. You want to live that .life, right? And so we noticed that after the campaign completed, we were able to increase consideration for a .life domain 30% for women under 34.
Wow.
Which were the people that we were targeting.
Right, right.
And so if one of those women wants to start a lifestyle blog in the future, she's going to be like, wait, what was that thing that I saw? And then when she does that search, the hope is that it pops up.
And she remembers, yeah.
And she remembers. And then the final piece that we look at is available budget. I think that a lot of times marketers forget that budget is a key determining factor of impact. And so really understanding, like, if we're going to go and market a vertical TLD, like a dot vote, we're not going to spend $1 million because we're not going to get $1 million worth of upside for that. And so really allocating the appropriate budget between vertical TLD merchandising and generic TLD merchandising is hugely important for me when we're thinking about understanding data and efficiency.
Got it. So all of these are some awesome successes. I know you're also an advocate for talking about failure. Can you talk about a time you've learned from a failure and how that kind of changed your approach with work going forward?
I would say that as marketers, we could knock a campaign or strategy out of the park. And that might be because we are awesome marketers, because aren't we? We're the best, right?
Usually, yeah, that's how it goes.
Usually. But it could also be luck. Like there could have been something that happened that was outside of your control that determined the course of that campaign. The reason I love talking about failure is because once you fail once, you never make that same mistake again.
That's very true.
Part of the reason I am valuable to the Identity Digital organization is because I am a collection of failures that I will never repeat. And I would say my biggest failure was at Twitter. In 2019, we did some research and we found that only 5% of users were creating 90% of the content. And this is obviously pre-Elon Twitter, right? Like it's very different. But, you know, that's a sobering statistic.
Yeah.
You're really relying on a very small number of people to drive all of the content creation on the platform. And so the next question you ask is why? And the answer was fear. People were afraid to tweet because they didn't want to get dragged. They didn't want to get harassed. They didn't want to forget they said something and then 10 years later have it come back to haunt them, right? And so what we determined is that fear was a significant barrier to content creation. And we looked at the competitive landscape and we saw that ephemeral products like Instagram and Snapchat stories were hugely popular. Why were they popular? Because they disappear. And so not rocket science, let's do this too. And so the initial version of the product was to do sort of like a self-destruct mechanism on the tweet itself, right? Like you determine how long the tweet will stay alive for. And then it disappears and like you no longer have that fear and you can say what you want and you're massively increasing content creation on the platform.
Yeah.
For reasons I still cannot explain, the product and design teams decided to create the stories line, which we called the fleets line, at the top of the platform. And this was for fleets, for fleeting tweets. They disappear.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden we had created this new surface area where people could post content. Obviously, this is a huge change. And people are very set in their ways. It's like a feng shui. If you open up the platform, it looks different. And so we tested in lots of markets. We tested in Korea, we tested in Italy, we tested in Brazil. And you know what we found?
Tell us.
They hated it.
Really?
Hated it. Nobody wanted to use it. Terrible experience. They were like, we don't want this. We didn't ask for this. Why are you doing this? So I raised my hand and I asked the same questions. Nobody asked for this. Why are we doing this, right? And but we were too far. The train had left the station, and so we launched. And the first day, hundreds of celebrities are using it. We make hundreds of different like blogs and news articles. It's a raging success. Everybody's like leaping out of their skin. They're so excited. And then 3 days later, the fleet line was empty because nobody knew why they were using it. And so we built something that we wanted. We didn't build the thing that people wanted. And then when people didn't use it, it was plainly apparent that people weren't using it because the space was empty. LinkedIn also had the same mistake when they tried to launch their stories product. And so within 8 months, it failed. And so what I learned is that your gut instinct is always a good starting point. And you should start there. But then you have to validate that the people you're reaching, you are not your end customer. And that is the most important thing I've learned as a marketer is you are not your end customer. And so if you are building exactly what you want, you run the risk that you are not building for the person that you are trying to convert, that you are trying to change their behavior. And that is a recipe for disaster. And so I use that skill every single day whenever we think about merchandising our TLDs. I'm like, who is the audience for this? It's not me. It does not matter if I like this ad. What matters is does the person I'm trying to reach like this ad? Is this going to resonate with them?
I think that's so true. We put so much of ourselves into it, and I'm guilty of it too. Like, I really think like, well, I don't personally like this. I don't, or I do personally like this, or you get attached to a phrase or something, and it really should be you thinking about your audience. All right, let's move to our last segment. We like to have a little fun here in what we call the gold rush round. Number one, what do you see as an important data innovation coming to marketers in the future?
For me, the things that I'm really excited about here is our commitment on .vote. And so part of what we did on .vote was we partnered with the US Vote Foundation to launch the US.vote website, and they built the voter journey map. And what this is it's a tool that helps US citizens at home and abroad figure out how they can get registered to vote. And so really leaning into technology for altruistic purposes is, to me, one of the greatest things that we could all do working in marketing and working in tech. I will briefly mention AI. Domain engine search is our new product that we've launched here, where whenever you enter in a search query and a registrar, it uses those search terms to deliver relevant results of what web addresses that you can pick. And with Domain Engine, we're using the power of AI to make those searches more relevant. And so we're surfacing domains that are going to make people happier. And so we're really excited when a registrar partner starts to use that. And then I would say the final thing that I'm really excited about is we did just increase or improve our tech stack for marketing, leveraging AI and leveraging different testing capabilities. And so this year we're going to be, for Pro and World, we are investing in mixed media tests to really understand which media is going to drive the biggest impact for us. And then we've also generated the ability to do mixed market testing, where we can target different areas and find out, like, for example, if maybe we should be consolidating our spend in your neck of the woods versus my neck of the woods. And it'll just make us really smart about how we launch campaigns, because if it's not apparent, I don't have the hugest marketing budget, and I have to be really smart about how I spend those dollars.
I mean, exciting stuff for sure for you coming up. What about one company that you see making a marketing impact with how they use data in their marketing?
So I worked at Instagram for a time, and Instagram has been raked through the coals over the last few years about their research. And that makes me really uncomfortable and upset because Instagram's research teams are best in class. And when you are reaching 1 billion people or more, it is crucial that you don't just build things or make changes without ensuring that those changes are not going to have a trickle-down effect that could upend, democracy or like stable
Right.
government, right? Like
Yeah.
this is real. This is really real. And so I want to give a hat tip to the Instagram research teams, because what they do is they go out, they do focus groups, they consolidate that data, they make recommendations, and those recommendations infuse product decisions, marketing briefs, and all the decisions that that organization makes. And it just really bummed me out that it was perceived in the media as bad that Instagram conducted research, because this whole entire conversation has been at its core about the importance of meeting your customers where they are. And there's no way to do that unless you invest in research and data.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Rachel. I really had a great time today. How can our listeners learn more about what you're working on?
I would say check out our website, identity.digital, or go buy a domain at name.com. And just keep following us. Our name.com social channels usually have really fun content about what's up and coming in the world of web addresses.
Perfect. Thank you so much. To never miss an episode, subscribe to the show wherever you listen. I'm Catherine Turnoff, and this is Marketers Alchemy.